Okay, so thank you all for attending today's sourcing collaboration training call. This is Deb Yarnell from Sourcing Science, and today we have Aaron Hoffling as well as Kara Zenk from our employment branding sector of the Centralized Branding and Strategy Group, and they are here to talk a little bit with you about recruiting, and how social can help you with recruiting. And so with that, and without further ado, I will hand this over to them. Kara, Aaron, take it away.
Sure. So thanks everybody for joining. My name is Aaron Hoffling. I'm Business Development Executive on the Employment Branding team. So my bit is going to focus on more of what we're seeing from a client perspective, what they're wanting to see, how they're using social, how they're expecting social to be used, really kind of in that sales process. And then Kara is going to be moving into more of that delivery mode. So Deb, if you want to excuse me, flip to the first slide. We've seen a big shift in what clients are essentially expecting. At first, they had really kind of no clue on how social should be used for recruitment purposes and talent acquisition. And then if you go to the next one, Deb, this has just happened within the last couple years. One more. We're seeing clients wanting to leverage social to do a number of different things. So they want social to be able to build brand awareness, build the employer brand, build pipelines of talent, and really engage with the talent that already exists within those social communities, and turn those passive candidates into active ones. And now we're really starting to see social kind of pop up as part of an expectation for an RPO offering. Next slide, Deb. We're starting to see a lot of questions, even in RFPs. So questions, for example, of how are your recruiters leveraging social? Do you have a social offering? How do you leverage social to build pipelines? All of which are great questions. And next slide, Deb, because we have answers, and specifically two answers that we typically go to in our RFP response. One, of course, we have an offering. It is sort of an obvious question. If you just want to tab through some of these, Deb, right? Obviously, we have an offering. So one of them is an end-to-end management. And we'll go into this a bit more, and you'll start to see some of the examples from Kara. But again, it's really end-to-end management of their social recruitment effort for talent acquisition. So it starts with an overall, overarching social strategy. It's developing those content calendars. So having some forethought into what we're going to post over the next week, month, quarter, yearly basis, developing the content, which Kara is going to go through. There is a method to the madness, so to speak, incorporating certain design elements to make your post attractive. And then the candidate engagement, which is important, right? So if you have a candidate ask a question on one of your posts, being able to respond intelligently and within a certain amount of time. And then, of course, analytics and reporting that all go along with it. And that is something that the employment branding team supports through Kara, and we do it for a couple different clients, which we'll go into here in just a bit. But then the second piece is, our recruiters should be enabled and are enabled to use social to fill the recs they are assigned to and to promote our clients and be brand ambassadors. Booyah, right? Okay. And go to the next one, Deb. So like I said, currently we're supporting two really kind of end-to-end for social recruitment strategies. So one of the clients is Kennametal and the other is Shire. So now we're going to turn it mostly over to Kara, and she's going to give you some tips and best practices when you are wearing your client's jersey and representing them through social media efforts.
Thanks, Aaron. So yeah, I'm sure you guys all have your own tips and found different things that have worked for you in the past. So I'm going to share a few examples of real posts and then talk about what different ways that we can improve it. So before we dive in, we're going to look at some data. According to a New York Times article, the average person spends about 35 minutes a day, and I believe this is global, on Facebook, compared to only 2 minutes a day on LinkedIn, which is obviously a primary channel for recruiting. And then, Jed, if you want to click, at the same time, the amount of content getting posted on social media keeps rising. So the graph on the right basically shows the volume of content that's getting posted. The inner circle is 2014, the middle is 2015, and the outer one is 2016. You can see pretty quickly how drastically this has increased. And although LinkedIn isn't represented on that graph, you can assume the same rings true there. So although it's becoming easier and easier to post content, it's getting harder and harder to get attention for those posts. What might have worked well 5 years ago may not be as successful today. So where do we go from here? How do we get attention? I believe it goes back to the age-old saying. It's quality over quantity. Spending a few more minutes creating the content before posting it will obtain better results. You know, and as innovators, we're always looking for the next best tactic to try, which is great, but I found that no matter what you use, some of the same principles and concepts apply. So we're going to go back to the basics of what makes up a good social post. And this is, you'll see the anatomy of a post in front of you. There's no one way to find success recruiting on social media. I'm sure you've all learned that by now. The options are just virtually limitless. However, if we dissect it, it can typically be broken out into two parts, the visual and the supporting copy. So with the visual, regardless of whether it's a video, a GIF, or a static image, it's most successful when it's optimally sized for the channel you're posting on, and it's of good quality. I'm sure you've seen it all the time. Someone posts an image, but the most important part of it is cropped off or it's super pixelated. This can easily be solved by ensuring it's the right size before you post, and there's a ton of guidance out there that can help you find the right size. So for copy, length is key. If someone has to click read more before seeing a link to your job rec, you likely won't get as many clicks. You don't have to be an amazing writer to write engaging content. The most important thing is that you think about it from the candidate's perspective rather than your own. And I'll get into some examples here shortly. And lastly, you need to clearly tell candidates what you want them to do with this information, also known as a call to action. And lastly, you get bonus points if you're able to provide a glimpse into what the job or the company is really like in such a short social post. All right, so let's jump into the examples. Let's start with the one everyone is guilty of doing. Such and such company seeking such and such position in such and such area. Apply here. I mean, I bet you could go on your social news feeds right now and find several examples just like this one. Maybe you're even wondering what's wrong with it. Well, let's dissect it. The length is short and to the point, and there's a clear call to action. All great things. But what is it missing? If you want attention on social media, you know you're going to have to do a little better than that. So let's start by adding an image. Click one step. According to HubSpot, visual content is 40 times more likely to get shared on social media than other types of content. Additionally, research shows that people are more likely to remember the information 3 days later if a relevant image is paired with the information. So I'm not saying this particular image is perfect, but I think you can all agree it's already an improvement. What if we also reworded the post? Right now, the copy is very self-serving. It talks about the needs of the company. We need this position in this area, rather than the value it would have to a candidate, which is going back to my earlier statement about, you know, the candidate's perspective rather than your own. So how about, click step, turn your passion for fashion into an inspiring career as a retail coach. Rethinking the copy, I think, is one of the biggest opportunities for improvement when it comes to recruitment-related posts. Candidates want to feel inspired or motivated, some sort of emotion, if they're going to consider a new job opportunity. People won't remember what you said, but how you made them feel. All right, so let's go to the next example. I like this one for a couple of reasons. So such and such company is looking to hire a rock star to drive our end-to-end social media channels forward. We have over 800,000 customers and growing super fast and have the most incredible customer audience. must have a female consumer audience focus and experience in retail. I like this one again for a couple of reasons. You can feel the passion this man has for the company, and it's really kind of contagious. Even in these few short sentences, I already have a growing affinity for this company. I also like that it lightly acknowledges that most people wouldn't know anything about this company by bringing in information about their customer side. But what would make this better? What is it missing? Of course, we can add an image if you want to click. But what is an interested candidate supposed to do with this information? The only way right now is to comment on the post. But what if I don't want my entire network seeing that I'm interested in a new job? This problem could easily be solved by sharing a link or contact information or something in the post. In fact, it could replace the must-have female consumer audience line. That could be put on the landing page. Our job here is to pique interest and not provide every detail or requirement about the job. But I also think we can reword this to make it a little bit more about the candidate than the company that's hiring. So click again. Use your rockstar social talent to cultivate our incredible 800,000 plus and growing customer audience through end-to-end social media management. Learn about company name and this incredible opportunity. But the way it's worded now, it flatters the candidate. It makes them feel more confident and talented right off the bat. Again, they may not remember exactly what was said, but they will remember how they felt reading it. And not to mention, it makes you a more desirable recruiter when you're complimenting everyone without even talking to them. Okay, let's go to the next one and talk about the one that breaks all the rules. Do you remember how I said there's no magic formula for a successful social recruitment post? Well, this is a great example of that. It breaks the optimal content length rule we talked about at the beginning. In my opinion, still works really well. So she talks about reasons why you might want to work at company name as an HR service manager. And she jumps into the reasons from her personal perspective and experience. So although you have to click the See More button to read the full post, it talks about the position in a creative and rather personal way. Of course, there's always room for tweaking. So in the spirit of continuous improvement, I'm going to share my version of the post. If you want to click. 7 signs you'd make a great fit as an HR service manager at company name. So by simply adding a number at the beginning, 7 signs or 5 reasons, it makes this a list format post. And according to another HubSpot study, this type of post claims the most social traction. Secondly, since I know the importance of white space, I added a space after the title. Lastly, I condensed the content in the post where I felt it was really redundant or could be said more simply. And of course, an image would have also helped boost this post performance. But click one more time, I gave it a star because I think it provides a really good glimpse into what the job and company is like. All right, next one, the one that was really punny. And I can't help but laugh. I really like this one, and maybe it's because I'm a sucker for puns and idioms, but it's short, it's simple, it's engaging through humor, and has a really clear call to action. So it's a bird, it's a plane, no, it's Ericsson's cloud expert soaring across the ICT skies. Become an Ericsson cloud architect. So although I think it's a really great post, I'm going to use this one as an opportunity to talk about video posts, or in this case, a GIF. So if you click, no surprise that social video generates more shares than text and images combined. The movement alone is jarring enough for someone to pause when scrolling through their newsfeed. So I missed it. It might have played through, but it's a quick example of using a GIF that I found on Giphy and then added some fading. You can easily find, record, or create your own. Whatever the case, video is a great option to experiment with on social if you can. All right, so the next one. Sometimes we have positions to promote that aren't very glamorous, which is exactly why I like this post from Marriott. So ever wonder why our hotel beds are so comfortable? Because our associates work hard to make guests feel at home with crisp, clean, and freshly ironed bedding. They make laundry feel like the most important job. So how did they do it? They took something you're already familiar with, Marriott's amazingly comfortable beds, and shed light on why they are so great. To make it even better, they give credit to the employees rather than, saying we have the best beds ever. So is there anything to add? Instagram makes it really hard to add call to actions, but I think it can help by replacing the word associates, if you click, with the job title of those responsible, in this case, laundry attendant. I know it's a long stretch, but if I was going to actually be interested in a position like this, I wouldn't even know what to search for unless you had the job title in there. All right. So, and I give this one a star again because I think it provides a really good glimpse into what it's like standing in front of machines, folding and ironing laundry. Anyway, okay, next one. So without being on site, it can be hard to come up with imagery that matches the job in a compelling way, like the Marriott example we just reviewed. However, with this particular example, this kitchen may or may not be from Disney. A viewer will assume it is, but really anyone would be able to find a picture like this without having to be on site. So create unforgettable dining experiences for guests from around the world. Join us as a culinary chef assistant. This one aligns the job to the company mission, which is creating magic, to cooking. I mean, most people wouldn't initially think of cooking when you think of Disney, but they do it here rather simply and connect it right back to the original mission of the organization. All right, next one. So when you find a positive, authentic comment or review online about working for an organization, why wouldn't you want to share it? This is a small effort that can go a long way in helping to promote general awareness about the company you're recruiting for and its employer brand. This example from Best Buy is promoting themselves, but we can easily do something similar as individual contributors. Of course, you'd want to make sure the review is authentic and it's hosted somewhere that has other related positive content. If you found only one positive Glassdoor review among 1,000 poor ones, your comment might not be that authentic and it might not be the best place to pull something from. All right, so the one where you share corporate posts and add personal commentary, sharing content, adding your own commentary is just a great way to support our company's employer brand on social media. This post is from me, yes, created as an example to share with you. Anyway, many of you may have seen that Kennametal was featured on Titans of CNC, a show that promotes the trade. It was really, really cool, and although it emphasized the product, you can repurpose this to share what it would be like to work in the industry and, hopefully at Kennametal. All right, the one that leverages culture research. So I'm going to end with a few posts that we've created for clients as part of an ongoing effort to build and convey its employer brand, in addition to promoting overall career opportunities. Many of you are familiar with Shire. As Erin mentioned, this is one of our clients. And through the culture research, we found that compassion, to no one's surprise, is a key characteristic of a successful Shire employee. Knowing that your efforts at work, either directly or indirectly, help improve people's lives is really, really powerful. So we leverage it on social by creating a gift using these real photos of patients living with rare diseases. Shire has an amazing repository of their patients, and it's pretty inspiring. So this particular post follows a lot of the principles we've covered. Visual and copy are optimized for social. It's using an engaging video and has a really clear call to action. And then we're going to share an example from Kennametal. Again, it's another video, optimally sized with a clear call to action. The objective behind this one was to add a little transparency, what happens after a candidate submits their application, lovingly called the black hole. Of course, we can't alleviate that completely, but hopefully it helps candidates understand Kennametal's process a little bit more. And it's making the assumption that they're already interested in a career there. You're just a few steps away from a rewarding career at Kennametal. Here's what to expect from the application process. And then the last example I'm going to share is ads that we've developed for the IBM main corporate team to increase their global following. So we ran a bunch of follower campaigns on their career-specific pages. They've paid us to develop the creative, the messaging, and manage the ongoing campaigns. The idea is to increase their following to support their recruitment objectives. So it's kind of focusing on the long game rather than the immediate requisitions that are needed to fill. For the creative, we developed 2 different ads, one for entry level and one for mid-level. The mock-ups here are for Twitter, but we also ran a similar campaign on Facebook. The idea was to convey to entry-level folks that opportunities are virtually limitless. You can experience multiple careers at IBM. Many of you have probably experienced this yourself. And then for mid-level, it followed a similar idea, but it was more about the impact you could make. So maybe they're feeling stagnant in their career, or they aren't exactly impacting the world the way they wanted. For both audiences, our job was to intrigue enough so they would follow the account and then explore what made sense to them. Choose your own adventure sort of approach. And we obtained more than 4,000 new followers on Twitter, and we're tracking more than 28,000 on Facebook. And that's just from this one campaign. They've also expanded into do more geo-specific campaigns for their other pages. So that's all we had to share with you guys today. It was a pretty quick call. But again, appreciate your guys' time, and I'm very curious to see some of your guys' tips and tricks and what's worked for you guys on social too.
Great, thank you, Kara and Aaron. Guys, I have opened up our chat box. So if you have some questions for Aaron and Kara, definitely type your question in the chat box. And I'm also on Same Time, so you can go ahead and send me a message on Same Time if you have any questions for Kara and Aaron. And thank you guys for sharing today. A lot of great tips for folks that may not have had the opportunity to share post about their jobs or their company. So again, the chat box is available, so feel free to send me a message, and I will read that out for Kara and Aaron. Okay, I have one coming through. One is personal accounts sharing versus recruiter account sharing. Does one work better with an audience than the other?
I guess if you are a recruiter on your personal account, I guess I'm not understanding the question. Personal accounts versus like a corporate account?
So I'm thinking what they're mentioning is like if they have say a Facebook or a LinkedIn account and they're listed as the recruiter, and maybe this is more on a Facebook side. Again, whoever did ask that question, if you can just give me some additional information, but I'm assuming probably more Facebook oriented. So if you're on Facebook and you have a recruiter account versus your own personal account, does one share do better than the other?
I guess I haven't seen any data that goes beyond the individual versus corporate perspective, but there is a huge difference. I can't remember the stat, but I want to say it's 20 times more or shared more often from a personal account than like a corporate account. So I could assume that if you have, your intention is to recruit, it seems a little less genuine than just a personal account sharing if you're an employee. So obviously employees as brand ambassadors are more impactful than like a corporate account bragging about themselves. So maybe there's a little bit of difference there, but I haven't seen any data to back that up.
Okay, great. Another question came through. Is it important that I'm listed working for my client in my profile? I'm assuming in LinkedIn.
That's actually a really good question, and I know Amy sort of was working through some of that stuff with LinkedIn. In order to be in compliance, I guess you had to list as IBM and the company. So I don't want to give any direction that would violate our contract with LinkedIn. But I don't think it necessarily matters if you're saying whether or not you're recruiting for, if you're supporting their brand, and just if it's genuine, if it's something that you know is true and added your personal perspective. I don't think it's extremely important to have that in there.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Another question came through. Sharing infographics, is it better or not versus pictures of people and environments?
I would say it depends on the post. You know, whatever gets the emotion across more effectively. If it's usually with data, infographics do really well. If you want someone to feel like an emotional connection to a position, I've found that you know, photography does that a little more successfully. But I would say it's more of a judgment call on what's available to you when coming up with the content.
Okay. All right. Any other questions coming through? Oh, someone's typing. How often should I post, and does time of day matter?
Time of day definitely does matter. There's a lot of analytics and tools to help you figure out what works best. I think even the free Hootsuite version will tell you when you get the most engagement or clicks based on when you post. And then the first part of that question, can you read that again, Deb?
Yeah, so it was how often should I post and what times during the day?
Yeah, I think frequency depends a lot on the recruitment needs. I mean, if you're recruiting for 1,000 positions versus 10, I think obviously the smaller, less volume wouldn't require as many posts. Mm-hmm. So I think it's directly related to what the recruitment needs are of the business.
Great. Super, thank you, Kara. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Going once, twice. Those were all the questions. So again, Aaron and Kara, thank you so much for joining today's sourcing collaboration training call. Really appreciate your guidance, you know, on the social. Oh, wait, we have one more question coming through. Hold on, hold on. Hold on. Stay tuned. Hold on, it's coming.
Well, while we wait for that, thank kudos to you to Deb for organizing these. I think it's great just to connect everyone and share insights. So thanks, Deb.
You're very welcome. And the recruiter is still typing. Here we go. Oh, what are your thoughts on posting salary, since most people care about money before taking a job? Great question.
Well, I would say, you know, not everyone. I think there's a study out there that says if it's less than $70,000 a year, that money is the most important thing, and then it was over that it's not necessarily as important. So I guess it depends on the position. Mm-hmm. And you know, I think there was one of our clients that we were just dealing with a month ago that they specifically did not want their salary to be a leading factor, even though it was a factory job, and we thought that was really important. But of course, impactful in there. But if it's a really competitive salary,
they knew it was a big selling point too. So it was a big struggle for us, and I think that we're still maybe trying to fight that battle in terms of allowing, because they were paying more than their competition, and it's a very tight marketplace. So the fact that we were sort of handcuffed by not being able to promote the salary really kind of it was challenging because we had to find other ways to promote the manufacturing roles. You know, by not saying it, it's a really big selling point. So to Kara's point, sorry to interrupt you, Kara. You know, obviously it depends on client expectations, but I do think in certain instances, especially when it is sort of that key trigger, especially in maybe some of the more blue collar manufacturing type positions, where if they can get $1 or $2 more, they'd most likely be willing to make a switch.
Yeah. No, I was just going to bring that up. I'm like, if we know that, through market analysis, that what the client is paying more than the market is offering, the similar function, it would be great to be able to post that, because obviously that's a standout, post in terms of, what people may be currently making at competitor companies and, what you know, folks that are looking to make a move, you know, would see in terms of, all right, well, if I'm getting quoted at, you know, $13 an hour here and $17 is the minimum there, you know, I'm definitely going to go ahead and consider the second company faster than the first one. Great question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions? It looks like that the chat option on GoToWebinar may be not working. So if you guys need to ask any additional questions, you know, feel free to ask on Same Time, Skype, Facebook, Messenger, WeChat, WhatsApp.
You got multiple options.
I'm everywhere. All right, I think those are all the questions. Going once, going twice. Okay, well, thank you guys again for joining today's call. The presentation was absolutely fantastic. Again, for those of you still online, we will put this onto a YouTube channel. We'll post it into the IBM sourcingscience.com site, and then I'll also be sending it out to everybody on the invitation list. So again, thank you guys for joining today's Sourcing Collaboration Training Call. We will meet in 1 month's time, and again, I appreciate everybody that was able to attend today's training call. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, day, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you.